Much has been said about the way the Smiths educate their children, but no one has really analyzed the consequences that their children have had due to the lack of attention and, above all, due to a lack of good parenting. That's why Willow has decided to talk about it and talk about the whole truth about her mother. What did she say? Do you really think her mother is bad? Stay to find out all the details. Willow has been open about her mental issues, addictions, among others. But why has she had to go through that since she was little? Where were her parents? Parents who know how hard the world of fame is and who have gone through experiences that have surely made them wiser in this type of situation. Why didn't they help her? Why was Jada as a mother not there to detect that things were going wrong with Willow? Willow Smith, her mother, Jada Pinkett Smith, and her grandmother, Adrienne Banfield Jones, discussed surviving loss on an episode of Red Table Talk. After hearing about a friend's death from brain cancer, Jada questioned Willow about the most traumatic loss she'd ever known, and she was surprised to learn that her daughter had self-harmed in the past. "I would have to say, honestly, I feel like I lost my sanity at one point," Willow said. "It was after that whole whip my hair thing, and I just stopped doing singing lessons, and I was kind of just in this gray area of, who am I? Do I have a purpose? Is there anything I can do besides this?" She continued, "After the tour and the promotion and all of that, they wanted me to finish my album. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. And after all of that kind of settled down and it was like a kind of lull, I was just listening to a lot of dark music. It was just so crazy and I was plunged into this black hole and I was like cutting myself." Jada and Adrienne both stated that they had no idea Willow had gone through this as an adolescent, and they wanted her to tell them more about it. Something that surprised the fans was exactly that the preteen's family did not know anything. They never had conversation with the girl to warn her of the disadvantages of fame. "It was on my wrist. I mean, you can't even see it, but there's still a little something there. But totally lost my sanity for a moment there." She noted that only one friend knew she was self-harming. "I never talk about it because it was such a short, weird point in my life, but you have to pull yourself out of it," she said. Willow responded to her mother and grandmother's questions about why she thought she had turned to self-harm by saying, "I honestly felt like I was experiencing so much emotional pain, but my physical circumstances weren't reflecting that." Willow's self-harm, Jada speculated, made the emotional suffering genuine rather than like a ghost in your head. Willow agreed, but added that she didn't self-harm for long periods. "One night I was just like, this is psychotic, and after that I just stopped." Willow also suffered from anxiety. During an episode of Red Table Talk, the performer opened up about her hardships. Willow opened up to her Red Table Talk co-hosts in this exclusive clip from the poignant new episode and described what it's like to be overwhelmed. 4 days ago, I was having extreme anxiety," Willow recalled. "I couldn't talk. I had to just cocoon and be with myself for a moment." Turning to her mom, Willow explained, "That was so important because it would have been so much more intense if I'd been looking to you to be like, help me." Willow claimed that she eventually felt more in control and that she then opened the cocoon when she was ready. Survivors of suicide attempts spoke out and opened up about their experiences and how they got through them on a special episode of Red Table Talk. Willow understood how tough dealing with an emotional crisis can be, as well as how isolating it can be to suffer from anxiety and other mental health difficulties. But why did she have to go through all this alone? Could it be that Jada has been so selfish that she's not cared about her children? "There's a shame, there's guilt, there's sadness and confusion," Willow shared. "And then you don't even want to talk about it because you're like, I feel crazy and I don't want them to think I'm crazy, so I'm just not going to say anything." Willow opened up about her relationships with various substances and how they were affected by the coronavirus outbreak. On an edition of their Facebook Watch show, Red Table Talk, the Always Open family discussed the matter with Jada's mother, Adrienne Banfield Jones. Willow was congratulated by Jada for cutting down on your excessive cannabis smoking. She went on to say that she and Gammy were both concerned that Willow might have followed in their footsteps and succumbed to the addictive tendency that has plagued their family in the past. Jada said that as a mother, she could see the impacts that Willow couldn't. But why didn't Jada intervene? Why didn't her mother assist her? Willow nodded, admitting that she hasn't smoked marijuana in 3 months, specifically THC. "When I stopped smoking, it was a really big eye-opener because I was like, there were so many people that I call my friends who just drifted away. And it made me think it's interesting how it was very linked to socializing for me," she continued. "When you're young and with your friends, you don't think anything of it. It's so cheesy, but around the time I stopped smoking, I started doing a lot of yoga and I just excelled because I was putting all my energy into that. So it made me think what I've been missing. What have I not been putting all my brain power into?" Since the birth of their children, Jaden and Willow Smith, Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith have been outspoken about employing unconventional parenting techniques to raise their children. While most of us had to follow certain rules and regulations as children, the Smiths' home was considerably more open, allowing their children to express themselves emotionally and creatively without restriction. Obviously, this lack of limits has made their children do things that have threatened their own lives, which is why fans consider that this has not been the best way to raise their children. As such, the Smiths' differing parenting perspectives have garnered them a lot of flack over the years. Pinkett Smith revealed she was badly mom-shamed for various reasons on a recent episode of Red Table Talk. Pinkett Smith and her actor husband do not believe in disciplining their children, in addition to creative expression. "We don't do punishment," the bride actor explained on Red Table Talk. "The way that we deal with our kids is that they're responsible for their lives. Our concept is, as young as possible, give them as much control over their lives as possible. And the concept of punishment, our experience has been, it has a little too much of a negative quality. This includes treating their children as equals and refraining from delving into their life when they refuse to give certain information." Pinkett Smith offered Jimmy Fallon some parenting advice during an appearance on The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon. She said, "As a father, if she needs a ride from the mall, you go pick her up, and you don't say a word. You don't ask her anything. Don't talk to her, don't ask any questions. You wait until she comes to you and wants to talk to you." Though Smith and her brothers Jada and Trey are now adults, the Smiths were frequently in the tabloids as children due to their laid-back parenting style. Many opponents have argued that their lax attitudes toward discipline and formal schooling were far too loose. The Smiths have been dubbed #family goals for a long time. Will and Jada Pinkett Smith are two of Hollywood's most well-known actors, and their children have shown that they have the talent and dedication to follow in their parents' footsteps. They've made it plain that they aren't a perfect family, despite how they appear. In a November 2019 episode on her Facebook Watch show, Red Table Talk, Pinkett Smith opened up about everything. Demi Moore and her daughters, Rumor and Tallulah Willis, were in the room with her and Willow when they started talking about the actor's memoir and the anguish passed down from parent to child. Because there was so much going on, Tallulah thought she had to be strong as a child and wasn't permitted to show emotions. Agreeing, Willow said, "Back in the day, if I would have been crying or had been upset, the energy was always like, take that somewhere else. Like, take that somewhere else and deal with it on your own. That's because of how I was treating myself," Pinkett Smith stated. "I didn't want to be with my own feelings." However, things began to change when she began to work on herself. "I got to a place of vulnerability where I could cry in front of Willow, but it took me a long time because of that forging. There's this wall, there's this armor," she said, explaining that she felt compelled to be strong as a result of her childhood, which included being raised by a mother who was addicted to heroin. "I just want to take a moment and say, I'm sorry," she concluded, turning to Willow. Willow leaned over to offer her a hug as she stretched out to her. For all this, we know that Jada knows that she has not been a good mother. She even apologized to her daughter for not being there for her, for not stopping her injuries or her addiction. What do you think? Do you really believe that both Jada and Will have been bad parents? Do you think Jada could have stopped Willow from self-harming if she'd been there for her? What would you do differently? Tell us your opinion and do not forget to subscribe to this channel so that you stay informed of all the drama and news from your favorite celebrities. See you in the next video.